Everyone, so welcome back to the next video in this series. And as I mentioned before, what I really want to be covering here is all about confidence and those times when we sometimes experience perhaps lower confidence, or maybe there are times where it is absolutely nowhere in sight. Now, I know for myself, when I really started working on understanding my confidence a bit more, I noticed how linked it was to a few things. And those things were really fear of judgment, doubt in my own abilities, and that awful thing that we call comparisonitis, comparing to other people. Now, ultimately, really, when I boil it down, it was all about the belief that I actually had in myself and my abilities, or the lack of it. Now, all of this led to then the stories that I started running of I'm not good enough for XYZ, I'm not experienced enough, and I would hold myself back because of that. I would often not put myself forward for opportunities, or I might shy away, or if I'm going through something, it could really leave me in that feeling of fear, of worry, of panic, and really needing to reach out for help and support. Now, I often call it the roller coaster of self-confidence and self-belief. And I was definitely, for me, in that front car, driving myself up and down all over the place, depending on what I was telling myself and how I was approaching different situations. But I didn't really understand that or take kind of ownership of it for quite a long time. It just felt a lot more outside of myself and a lot more out of my control. I felt like I just needed to work harder, learn more, speak to more people, get mentors, read loads of articles, all of the things. And then I would feel like I had enough knowledge, I had enough experience, I was going to be good enough. But it was always short-lived, and there always was more I felt I needed to do. The turning point was when I really realized the thing that impacted me the most was what I was telling myself and the way I saw myself. And when I started to understand that, things started to change. So guess what? Where I'm back to. It was all about where was I focusing my time, my energy, and my thoughts. What am I telling myself? What am I believing about myself? And all of this could pick me up or drag me down. And that's where I kind of got that roller coaster analogy from. For example, one of my old stories, I'm not experienced enough. Well, quite frankly, you can't get experience without, guess what, getting experience. So rather than shying away from opportunities because I didn't feel I was experienced enough to do them, well, I had to change my thinking and my patterns and actually to start seeing these as the perfect opportunities to push myself and get the experience that I craved. And I started just saying yes to so much more, because really, if things were in line with my goal, then I needed to push myself outside of my comfort zone and really start to relish in these new experiences. So you're probably wondering, what are some of the things that I put into practice to support me with my self-confidence? And there's a few I'd like to share. And the first one that really is really important and really crucial is doing a lot of work around those limiting beliefs, those stories that we're telling ourselves that aren't really in line with how we want to be showing up. Because when we can connect into those, there's a lot of work that we can be doing. I believe in a lot of the unconscious mind work with timeline therapy through NLP, and also generally through coaching as well. So really doing some more of that inner work is crucial. Now, if we want to be doing things that we can kind of start putting into action straight away, then if there are a few things I would like to share. So the first one is we really need to take that inner critic with a pinch of salt. And really, it all comes back down to that piece of turning our focus and our thoughts around. When we start hearing the stories, the beliefs, all of these things running that are not serving us, then it's really taking accountability to know that we can turn our thoughts around and really start putting that into practice. Sometimes just as simply as writing down the negatives and rewriting it in a positive and saying that to yourself over and over can have a real impact, particularly when you hear those things coming back up. Kind of you come over the top of that negative Nancy in your head, saying it in the positive in a way that's going to support you to keep that momentum and taking action going forward. Now, it's also a little bit around understanding the triggers as well. Are there particular things that trigger that lack of self-belief or that confidence to take a nosedive. Because if we can understand the triggers a little bit more, then we can put some strategies in place before those even happen. For example, having those items written down that I just mentioned, or just being more aware that you need to be more centered, more focused when working on particular tasks or in particular situations, because they can be a trigger for low confidence. Now, something that can help in those moments, if you do feel it dipping, is creating anchors. And we can create an anchor in many different ways. You can have something that's a feeling, like a kinesthetic anchor, like creating a resource anchor on a knuckle, or some people do them on their rings or on an earlobe, where whenever you're in a positive, confident, or a motivated state, pressing that place whilst you're experiencing that emotion can create the connection. It goes back to Pavlov's dog, if you're aware, where they ring the bell and the dogs would salivate. It was all about the state piece. A very interesting story. If you're not aware of that, I would encourage you to go and have a look. But you can create those anchors for yourself. Another way to do anchors is a song. I know so many people, and I do this for myself, if I really need to get into a much more kind of pumped up, confident state, I know that there are certain songs that I can play that can help me to get there. And the more you play them to feel that way, and therefore feel that way, you're reinforcing it over and over. So that's something else that can really help as well. Another one is actually going back into memory. So creating more of a visual anchor of situations, either a picture or just a visual in your mind of, again, times you felt confident, and drawing into those by really associating into those moments. So anchors can really help you in situations where you know you might get triggered into a state of low confidence based on past experience. So thinking about and being conscious of what are the things that I can do to turn that around. So just one idea with the anchors. Now, another thing I wanted to share, and this is something I learned recently this year, and that is all about the piece that so often we can put down things that we are actually really good at, the strengths that we do have, the confidence that we can have in ourselves based on what we have already achieved. And it can be very easy to downplay those. So it's something that I have found incredibly powerful for myself with clients I've worked with, and I learned this through attending one of the Google I Am Remarkable events, was to actually take the time and write down a whole list of the reasons you are remarkable. So all of those achievements that you've got, and read it back and really acknowledge and understand that those times where we've got lower confidence, what is it that we can call on, that we have done, that we have achieved, to really remind ourselves of where our strengths are and where our achievements are. So these are just a few things. If you would like any more tips on this, then I would be very happy to share. But again, I would love to hear, what are some of the things that you do and have found useful to help yourself when you are perhaps experiencing lower self-belief, lower confidence? What is it that you have done to turn that around? And there we go. So taking you through this video series, it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy. Thank you for everybody's feedback. And please share as well in the comments, what are some other topics that you would like me to do some videos on? Are there any other sort of emotional blockers, behavioral blockers that you're experiencing that perhaps I can share a little bit in a similar format to the videos that we've already done? If you haven't watched any of the previous videos, we've covered overwhelm, we've covered anxiety, and generally just understanding the power of our focus. So thank you for following along, and I look forward to reading your comments, and have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world.